What is up, SmackNPie here, and welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we're going to take a look at one of the most intriguing horror games of recent time, a game that took internet by storm, At Dead of Night. This game consists of multiple acts that are broken down in multiple characters. We will go through each of their story and learn the overall plot of At Dead of Night and Jimmy. So without wasting any more time, let us begin. Let's start with the easier one. What is At Dead of Night? Well, it's a horror game that is point and click, half horror film and half horror game. As said on their official Steam page, you play as Maya, a student who came with her friends to attend a festival. However, they end up in a remote hotel called Seaview, a hotel that is run by a so-called psychopath, Jimmy. You went to stay just a night with your friends. However, you realize something's off, specifically with this guy called Jimmy that you meet on the reception. All is well until he reveals that he does a comedy act as a serial killer in the hotel's entertainment. If that wasn't enough, Maya's refusal to participate in entertainment didn't sit well with Jimmy at all, as just a few minutes later, Maya witnessed a horrifying sight of Jimmy chokeholding one of her friends and dragging her into the room. At that point, surely you would grab the keys and leave the freak out, but Maya, a true friend, wanted to rescue her friends. However, the only way she can do that if she put an end to Jimmy. And wouldn't you know, Jimmy had a dark, very dark past, as random spirit voice receiver reveals multiple character spirits affected by Jimmy's actions, and Maya must uncover those secrets and rescue not only her friends but also give those spirits some peace. So that's the generic story of At Dead of Night. Now we're gonna go into some more details, specifically main characters that leads us into the depths of the story. One of the first characters or spirits you meet in the game is a 10-year-old Amy Bell. She was locked into the basement by Jimmy. She's a 10-year-old and Jimmy at that time was also a very young boy. Amy was a daughter of one of the hotel guests. Jimmy, obviously being a psychopath that he is, we'll touch on him at the end, tormented the crap out of this little girl. During the gameplay sequences, you can find multiple items across the hotel rooms, and you can then use those items in specific areas to contact the ghost and ask them questions. Amy reveals a lot about Jimmy. Apparently, Jimmy first locked her in the basement, which is already mental for a kid to do, but then he also stole her purse, which was given to her for her birthday, and then even stole money from it. Things got worse when Jimmy took his banter with Amy a little bit too far. He started burning her toys. Amy told him off, but of course he wouldn't listen. Amy's story took a really sad turn when Jimmy started using physical violence against her. One of the things that sets Jimmy off is his alter ego, Hugo Punch, a character he plays for his comedy act. That self turns him physical, violent behavior. And sure enough, we learn according to Amy that Jimmy used sword, one of the items you find, to cut off her hand. Not only that, he followed up with giving her alcohol and told her it's medicine and that he would make her hand stop hurting. Amy got drunk by the whiskey given by Jimmy, and Maya witnessed her death as she fell down a huge flight of stairs. You can even go all the way down and see her down there with blood pouring all over the place. Unfortunately, this is just the beginning of what to come from Jimmy and his sick and twisted games. One of the things that makes all this so frustrating is that he didn't physically kill some of these people. It was his violent behavior that unfortunately led to their deaths, which in return, again true, is Jimmy's fault. Dr. Bose, the next character, or rather next spirit you'll learn about after Amy's death. Dr. Bose was Jimmy's doctor, which proved to be the worst job of Dr. Bose's life. A clinical psychiatrist was brought in to help Jimmy with his medical condition. Unfortunately, Jimmy was having none of it. Jimmy's games included so many twisted ideas, such as making a sandwich for Doctor with glass shards in it, calling it a prank, and playing it off. Now, there was a mistake Dr. Bose made, and that was injecting medication into Jimmy forcefully. That was the last straw, as Jimmy used that fact and manipulated it from top to bottom. Jimmy accused Dr. Bose of molesting him, then goes on to lie to his mother about Dr. Bose assaulting him, which of course she would believe, and made Dr. Bose lose his medical license. His reputation was completely destroyed, and finally, Rose called cops on the doctor. Dr. Bose's fate ended with him tying a noose to a moving elevator in the basement, suicide, to end his life, for he knew what's to come and what's about to follow. Even though Jimmy lied about all the situation, Dr. Bose's death cemented his accusations and made Rose believe Jimmy as well. Now we get to Jimmy's extreme violent transition. Harvey, a previous owner of Seaview Hotel who went head to head with Jimmy with his prank wars, Jimmy would start by setting off a crossbow trap on him. Already started with physical violent pranks. Harvey, however, clapped back, and in response he would go to his room and destroy his stuff such as television and game consoles. But then Jimmy took it to another level and he used a broken heater to electrocute him. Yes, electrocute Harvey. Maya witnesses all of that, but Harvey, he was like, nah, I'm gonna lock you into the basement. However, that was Harvey's biggest mistake, as Jimmy realized he would have to up his game to beat Harvey. This is a very tough spot to be in. Harvey is the only other person other than Jimmy to have an aggressive nature. His case didn't help him either because of the fact that Jimmy was just a boy and he was a grown man, Harvey. Hence, Rose didn't believe Harvey, nor did Dr. Bose, and shrugged off Amy's claims as child's play. Harvey's fate is one that's, yeah. He's had enough of Jimmy and wanted to threaten him to stop his mind games and leave the hotel. He took a gun to his room. However, Jimmy was a smart boy as he was armed prior to Harvey's arrival. Jimmy then fires the shot, killing Harvey. However, Rose, the mother, says it was completely in self-defense. This is where Harvey messed up and lost his life. This is also where the story does a 180 turn. At this point, Maya, the player, and even Jimmy himself realize that Jimmy is a self-centered, more or less psychopathic murderer. Maya knows most of the story. Jimmy, after that death, realizes that he has committed a wide range of crimes: kidnapping, child abuse, murder, just to mention a few, and he realizes that there's no hope for him. Not anymore. In strange turns of event, Jimmy decides to kill himself, but this is where his mother, Rose, comes in. Rosemary was Jimmy's mother, the only person to defend him at all points, whether it's against Dr. Bose, Harvey, not only because she was a mother, but also because she knew and was part of something far more dark and deep that caused Jimmy to whom he is today. In this story, you learn that Rose fell in love with a man named Hugo Hall. He was a well-liked comedian and people would love his act. They would come in numbers just to see him. Rose would bank on that and Seaview Hotel would make lots out of it. Rose and Hugo then had a child together, aka Jimmy Hall. Rose reveals slowly that Jimmy's behavior isn't his fault completely, rather it was a long process. Rose reveals that Jimmy's father, Hugo, would beat him when he was a baby and would torment him for 2 years. Those 2 years would change Jimmy forever. Rose one day decided to put an end to all this madness when she killed Hugo Hall with a bat and buried him in the basement. However, the damage was done and Jimmy was far from being a normal boy. She tried everything, but to no avail. Now going back to a previous point, Hugo Hall was all fine until he decided to just insult his audience. That point slowly turned him into a maniac. He was a direct responsible for Jimmy's behavior. Guests would complain, report, and even take things to the court, but Rose did whatever she could to not only keep Jimmy by her side, but also keep the Seaview Hotel up and running. After learning about Rose and Hugo, we get back to the point where Jimmy decided to attempt suicide. This is where Rose decides to tell him the truth, making him believe that it's not his fault completely. His personality and his comedic act is because of his father's madness. This obviously didn't bode well with him, as it made things horribly worse. He goes down straight to the basement to find his father's body, but whilst he's doing that, Rose, understanding what she's done, commits suicide by setting herself on fire, as she knows there's no coming back from this and she made things so much worse for her son. Ending shows Maya going to the basement as Jimmy lures her in. He tells her that Hugo Hall, his father, has cursed this hotel for centuries and has overtaken him as well. This is where he mentioned that his father thinks Maya and Jimmy were meant for each other, if that line was necessary to add in. Maya, after searching the entire hotel, had a bunch of keys with her. She takes this as an opportunity and locks Jimmy in that room and makes a run for it. Of course, Jimmy gets free again, but that gives Maya enough time to get back to her friends. The story ends as your final objective is to help free all your friends and escape yourself. However, there's no ending for Jimmy or even what happens to him. Final point for this video, let's discuss the closure for Jimmy. One of the theories going around the internet is that Maya calls the police afterwards. They have proof and witnesses as her friends were tied up. Police might finally put him behind bars. That could easily be the ending developers intended, but there's more explanation here. Hugo Hall was the main reason behind the chaos and madness that started in the Seaview Hotel. His comedic act transition became the main cause of so many horrific and tragic and unfortunate events that followed. Jimmy's character was one of them, which is why Jimmy himself is completely gone and Hugo has overtaken him mentally. You could go with the point of Jimmy being dead, however the game clearly mentions spirits through spirit receiver and differentiate the real human in flesh and blood versus the spirits that are dead. Jimmy is still alive, however his real self isn't. This is a story of direct child abuse, mental and physical torture and torment. Hugo's abuse towards Jimmy when he was a baby made him the psychopath that he is today. He never was living his own life, rather it was his father's traits that took over him by the end. Hence, Jimmy and everyone else is dead, but Hugo, he lives. His memories and characteristics, they live. Whether Jimmy gets caught and police put an end to him, that's up for debate and purely on the developer for making a sequel or not. But I would love to leave this as it is because Maya escapes with her friend and that's the best ending you can get and the best thing that can happen in this game, and it's better to leave it that. With that being said, what do you make of this game? This is quite a long game for what it is, around 8 to 10 hours. I hope the devs make more of this. They do have other games like this, but for now I think we can all take a break for Jimmy and his sick and twisted games. I've put so much time on this one, so would appreciate if you guys follow the future content as we do horror gaming videos here, Five Nights at Freddy's, Security Breach, Bendy, Dark Deception, Evil Nun, and so many more. So stay tuned and make sure Jimmy doesn't follow us with that bat of his.